Hey, what's good? It's CADILLAKTRACKZ. I'm back again with the template. I'm trying to make another video for y'all, showing y'all some features of the template. So I appreciate the support from everybody, and I really do. It's been a great month, and it's a lot of people showing interest in the template, which is why I want to make another video today going over some features of the template you might be overlooking, or just some small things and tips and tricks that we use the template for and why it can be beneficial. All right, so let's try this again. And today's video is going to go over the pads on the template. One of the main reasons why I made the template was so that we could have pads and I'd be able to play the pads and different instruments on the template. And so what I mean is that we want to be able to load up an instrument inside of Fruity Loops. Like right now we have the Nexus right here loaded up, and when I load up Nexus, I wanted to be able to play the pads without actually having to bring the instrument in the machine and using the machine mode. You can hear right now. And that's why we made the templates, to be able to utilize that in the pads. And if you notice closely, the root note of each scale is shaded or lighted differently so that you can identify it quickly. It also has all these different pads right here where I was able to spread out the different octaves. So this will be the low octaves and the high octaves. All right, so that's the pads right there in a nutshell. And you know that we have all the different scales for each different key. In the key of minor, we also have it set up for some different other scales like major and Dorian and Aeolian. And there was another one. And so that's the pads right there. If you notice, you see that there's certain lights that are lit up, like the pattern button, this one at the bottom, the mute choke button, and also right there, the step button. All the other ones are blacked out because those are ones that we don't actually utilize in the template. So I wanted to show y'all some different things that we can do with the template you might not be aware of. One thing I wanted to show y'all with it is the modulation touch strip. As you know, we have a touch strip right here on the machine. And on the template, we have it set up. And the way that we set it up is the way that we set up modulation on any VST. So I just wanted to go over that with y'all and just remind y'all how we can do that. So when I open up Nexus right here, with any VST, when you open it up, if you go to the top left, you can go to browse parameters. It's going to show you all the parameters for that VST. And it shows you all the things that you can link to any type of controller. If you go down, you can actually see MIDI CC1. It's always MIDI CC1 for modulation. There's certain commands that are universal. And number one is always modulation. So you can simply go down to it and right click on it and go to link to controller. Once it's linked to controller is selected, I can push the modulation touch strip on the machine and it's going to link that to modulation. Now, if you know on Nexus, that's not the only thing you have to do. Each VST is different, so you need to figure out how to link up the modulation for it or turn it on, enable it. On side of Nexus, if I go here to the mod screen, I can go to source right here and I can put the source on mod wheel. It allows me to adjust the vibration speed and the depth also, vibrato. And you can see it right there. And I'm gonna try to show y'all. I think this is where my last video went wrong. But yeah, right now it's lit up to where I could actually play a note and actually modulate it here with the modulation touch strip. And so you know the possibilities with that. You could use both hands. You could actually be playing your melody and then modulating it at the very end, getting real funky with it. And that is the modulation touch strip. That's how you would set it up. And it's one of the good things about the template. I wanted to make sure that we were able to use that while we were in MIDI mode, and that's exactly how we do it. And I just showed you. So it's one of the great things about the template right there. There's some more things with the template. If you've noticed, each different template has 4 different pages. Remember, we access those by pushing this right here. And if you go over, you might have seen these right here: sustain, legato, pedal, and portamento. And And those are just what they say. It's just a way to make notes sustain or legato, or to add a pedal or a portamento. What that'll do is, if you notice, like these notes that I hit now, they're just gonna play and stop. They're short notes, and if I turn on my sustain, it'll imitate like a pedal, and I'll be able to hold those notes. So that's a way that you can have a pedal action without a pedal, just by pushing the sustain button available on my template. So it's like a pedal right there. And if you look down, you might have also noticed the reverb, tremolo, chords, and the portamento options. You might be wondering what those are or what those do. Different VST plugins, different hardware, different synths, different devices will actually have an option where you can have a universal reverb command, meaning that when you push that knob, it should initiate or turn on the reverb. But sometimes you have to go in and actually set that up manually. I'm going to show you how you would do that just in case. So, for example, I'm going to load up an instrument. The one I was using for this example was Dune. And if we opened up Dune, where are you? If I opened up my Dune right here, and I went up to the top right here, and I go to Browse Parameters, I can scroll down and I can see all the parameters available right here. All right. And if I scroll down, you can scroll down and you can see MIDI CC number 91, reverb depth. I can simply go to it. I can right click on the controller and I can move this knob right here once this dialog box is open. Once I do that, it's going to link the universal reverb. So, for example, if I push a note, I think you get the picture. We can do the same thing with the chorus, tremolo. It depends on the different devices. Different devices have different effects. I know that Dune actually has an effects section with reverb and chorus and some things like that, and that's how we're able to link those commands. Sometimes those will be automatically set up, but you can see in, like for this example, we went in, we set it up manually. This is just one way you could do it manually. You know that on my template, I have a page. If we click over to the last page where it's all blank, this page is blank so that we have an option to where we can link up manual automations or manual controls. And so that's what this whole page is dedicated for. You have the 8 up here where we can actually push them on and off. And then we have 8 right here where these can be knobs, where we can actually use a knob and turn them on and off with our knob. For example, I'm going to show you here. I have an example here where I opened up Hive. Once again, if I wanted to automate any parameter manually, I could went up there into the top left and I go to Browse Parameters and I can pick any one that I want. And you can see right here that I have this knob here linked to a parameter, and I went ahead and I linked it to the detune on Hive, and you can see it right here where my mouse is, right here on detune. You can see it move as I move my knob here on my MK3. And this is how we link up parameters, or we link up different things on our template. So this is another way that we can link different things. This is a great way if you wanted to have like a whole bunch of different commands and automate them live and be able to, because you have you can do more than one knob at one time. You can get a real crazy effect just by really freaking it out and twisting different knobs. You can record that automation. So a lot of possibilities with that. Another thing is when you save your project and you open it back up, you'll notice that the link stays in place. So I wanted to show y'all that, something very important. And that's what those options are available for. As you know, we also have the volume knobs on our different template where we're able to link up tracks 17 through 24 by volume. So anytime I am playing an instrument, for example, let me go ahead and just load up another template. And if I was playing an instrument here, like for example Nexus, and I could always go here and turn the volume down. That's where the volume's linked. A lot of times when you load up, yeah, a lot of times when you load up an instrument, the volume can be too loud. So it's a quick way to adjust the volume right there. So we know about that on page 2 already. And then we have the solo on and off. That's where you can solo track 17 through 18. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about those different options that we have available on the template. And there's some more things I wanted to show y'all here with the pads. So another thing with the pads that we can do, and another thing that you see, is the step mode and the pattern mode. And they're very important because it allows you to turn on step mode and pattern mode. I don't do step mode a lot, but I have noticed that it can be very powerful. And I'm going to show you something that you can do with the step mode, as you already know probably. You know, anytime we have a different instrument, like for example, when I have this instrument right here, I can push the piano roll button. I can open up the piano roll for this instrument. And let's say I wanted to record something on here. Well, what I would do is I could just simply push record on my template. Remember, we're using the transport, and then I could just push play. I've already turned on the countdown, so it's going to count down, and it's just going to start recording right here into the piano roll. All right, so I went ahead and I recorded that. I can turn record off. Once it's recorded in there, some of the options that we can do to edit this, before I get into step mode, some of the options we can do. On my template, we have 2 different edit buttons. I have the mute button right here, and we also have this erase and replace button. We also have the undo button. So remember, with the undo button, we're actually able to undo notes one by one. So I can twist the undo button, and we can actually undo notes one by one. And let me show you how that works here. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and push step mode. And you can see it turn step mode on. I'm gonna push record, and I'm gonna record from the beginning in step mode. And that's actually not step mode, but let me go ahead and delete that. Just by pushing our button here, we'll turn step mode on. Delete these notes here by pushing our mute choke button. When you do that, it deletes any notes that are selected or any notes that are present. Then I just push record, push play. And I think I might have turned it off again. But yes, with step mode, we could just push step mode. We don't actually have to push record. I guess that's what I'm doing wrong since I don't use it so much. But we can actually push step mode, and we can just type our notes in one by one. This is like excellent when you're doing hi-hats. And it'd be an easy way for somebody to make a type of pattern. Remember, we have a tempo button where I can turn down the tempo if I wanted right now. So I went ahead and turned down the tempo, and remember, with the undo button, like I wanted to show y'all, I can move the undo knob, and look at that. We can undo notes one by one. Undo can work on the playlist. It's really a powerful way to use the undo button like this. And that's what the undo knob will do. It'll allow you to run through the notes one by one. And remember, we can also use this button, our mute button, as I noted. It will delete any notes that are selected. So you saw when I pushed it, it went ahead and deleted that selected note. After that note was gone, if I push it again, it deletes all the notes. It's an easy way where you can be recording something, mess up on the take, and jump right back in. Like for example, if I wanted to record something, usually what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll push record. This will enable record on Fruity Loops. From there, I will turn on the metronome. Remember that with these knobs, some of the knobs are touch sensitive. For example, the metronome, the snap, and also the blend record knob are all touch sensitive knobs, meaning when you touch them, it actually enables the command. So I can actually just tap it and it turns on my metronome on and off. So I like to turn my metronome on, so I just tap metronome one time, and from there I can just push play and I can record a take. It has a countdown. That's just an example. And then from there, I'll usually just push record to turn it off, and I'll push play. If I didn't like that take, I could just simply push down the button, mute, choke. I could delete it, and I could just try again real quick. Turn record on, and let's just try again, you know. And then I turn record off. And then like I could even, now that I like that, I can push stop, I can push record, and then I'm gonna record my automation, and it's gonna record it in there. I push play. Right, we're good. Not the best example, but you can see the possibility. I'm recording the automation on top of the pattern that I just recorded right there. Very powerful. You're using automation, you're able to edit the notes quickly. If I didn't like it, I could just delete it, or, you know, and push the button and try again, you know. It's very powerful. We have the different octaves that we can select here. So that's the step button and how we can utilize step. That's really great if you're doing hi-hats or different stuff, but it's real nice with the pads, man, because you could just be right there at the beginning, you know. This could be a piano or whatever. You could just push step, and then you could be like, and like you can make up some really nice melodies and patterns just using that. And you have the undo option, or we could just delete it. So make sure you utilize the step. Another thing is with the pattern button. Pattern button is real important because when I first started making beats, I used to switch between pattern mode and song mode a lot. And I'm sure a lot of y'all are doing that now in your growth. And it's just a great way to be able to do that pattern mode. So let's say I went ahead and I just turned on the step mode right here, and I made myself a melody. And so we have this little melody right here. And I'm gonna undo that last note, or those last two notes. All right, and so let's say we have this melody. We could easily just push. First thing I would do is I'd push the playlist button. I'd bring the playlist up. I'd go ahead and draw out my different patterns. That looks like I drew them out for this example already. Look, I can even see my automation right there, which is real nice. And I could just draw out my different patterns right here. And this is an easy way where I could switch between pattern mode and song mode. And you can see when I push the button, it switches. So I can push. Yeah, sorry for that horrible sound for this example. And bam, you're able to switch between pattern and song mode easily. Remember, with my template, I can open up the rack. So I might be in the rack making something up, and all of a sudden I just want to close the rack, push the rack button. I want to open the playlist, I'll push the playlist button. Once I'm in the playlist, I might switch from pattern to song mode with my template button. You know, I might have something selected like that and I don't want it there. I push the mute button, it just deleted what was selected. So I'm trying to show you how these different options can be utilized on different screens. I might have all these screens open, I don't want them open. I push my exit window button and it starts to close my different screens. So speaking about that, I wanted to show y'all another thing with the piano roll. I almost forgot. With the piano roll and the way that it's set up right here, one of the other features that the template allows you to do, and let me just show you some things. Like for example, when I have these notes right here inside the piano roll, if I bring my mouse up here above the bar and I use my jog button, which is my second jog button, this one right here, it allows me to jog left and right inside of the piano roll. So a lot of y'all might not be aware of that. It's actually depending on where the mouse is that the command takes place. And then same thing for the side. If I was to put my mouse on the side, I could use the jog knobs to go up and down. So that's just another tip and trick. And that brings me to another point with the template. One of the great features of the template, and one of the major things with the template, is being able to browse using the knob. So I was able to utilize the knob. The knob goes up, down, left, right, and it even clicks in. So I'm able to browse completely through the browser using that knob, and I've showed y'all that in videos. We can move the knob and we can go through all our samples. If I don't like this folder, I can push back on the knob. It would go back into the parent folder, and you can start to see how I can navigate through all of my folders and through all of my sounds, closing folders, closing parent folders, and going into other different things. When I click on a sound, it loads it up into the channel rack that's selected. If I push channel rack, I can see what channel rack selected, which brings me to another point. When I open up the channel rack, I can use the jog button over here to switch between different instruments or to select a different instrument. Matter of fact, I can do that when I'm using the piano, you know. And this is how we switch between the different instruments. And it's very, very nice little feature that you can do right there. Same thing with the patterns button. It allows you to switch between different patterns. The jog and the pattern button, they're both sensitive. So when you twist them, you just got to twist them just a little bit to get to the next one. So yeah, those goes over those features right there. And with the browser, like I was saying, it'll load it up into whatever channel rack is selected right there. So if I was to go over to a sample, or I had a sample right here that I was clicking on, once I push down on the button, it's going to load it into that. So it's a great way to browse and load up samples quickly using the template. So that's about it, man. I kind of went over the buttons for the pads. Just wanted to make sure y'all knew that, and about these editing options. You know, remember that when we are editing notes, you know, and I have a note, like for example, I just opened this, and I'm gonna push my piano roll button. It's gonna open the piano roll for me. When I have these notes right here, there's different ways that we can edit them. I can push the erase button right here and it'll erase them, or we can push the mute button, choke button, and that also erases notes, or we can use our undo knob and it erases notes also. So those are the three ways that we can edit and erase notes as we're recording. Then we have the transport where we can stop, record, and play, which brings me to another point, something I wanted to show y'all that y'all might have been overlooking. Or for example, since we have the pattern button, I can switch this over to song mode. So I'm going to switch this over to song mode. I'm going to open up the playlist by pushing the playlist button on my template. So now that the playlist is open, for example, if I was to push play right here, it's going to play and it's going to start playing. When I push stop, you can see that the little timer stops right there, the little play cursor. But when I push play again, it's going to start from the beginning. So push and play again always starts it from the beginning. That's why we have the button right here, the restart loop button on my template. That way it starts it from wherever you stop. So when I push it, it'll actually start from the middle right there. And I can stop it from wherever and I can restart it. All right, so that's how we're able to start and stop it from wherever. Remember, we also have the tap metronome button. A lot of times, the first thing you should do when you open up a template and get a beat started, just start hitting that button. It's going to tap out the tempo. It's linked to the tap tempo feature, so it's how you can just tap the tempo right there, and it just sets the tempo right there on Fruity Loops. It's a great little feature. And that's about it, man. You know, the shift command down here, this is how we load up our different options, and we are able to load up and open up our different templates. Another thing you might not know is when you hold down shift, it says show values. I believe you can actually switch that to show bars, and it'll show bars instead of numbers. And it's another little thing that you can do with the template. So we're going to go over some more stuff, some of the more options up here in the left next time. But I just wanted to go over the pads with y'all. I appreciate everybody showing support. And any questions, leave a comment below. But that's some of the features in the template in a nutshell. Just wanted to go over those sustain and legato pedal and the reverb options, and then the little step mode, the pattern button, and also some of these transport controls, as well as the modulation touch strip, and let you know that you can switch between the different octaves and also browse on the browser wheel and load up different instruments and effects. So that's about it, man. So that's why we use the template. We're able to go ahead and load up different screens quickly. I can load up the playlist and the channel rack, and I might even load up the mixer. And if everything's getting crazy, I can push the exit window button and it's gonna exit the window. So until next time, I appreciate everybody watching. Y'all take it easy, and I'll talk to y'all later. Goodbye.